Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LeanTossup College Football Podcast, the sharpest college football podcast. Uh, Maybe not last week, but again, it is the first. It's the first weekend of bowl season. Bowls are weird. We see some really weird things in bowl season so far, and I suspect we will continue to see some more weird stuff. I am joined, as always, by my co-host BuckMetrics. How are you doing today? We are recording this on Tuesday night during the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. How are you doing tonight?
Um, well, I'm feeling better. I'd like to blame my horrible bowl picks in the last pod on being sick, but we had a pretty good season and there's always going to be corrections, so I'll just blame it on market correction and I would like to thank anybody that still has a faith and is actually listening to bowl pod number 2 here.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing of it is like, yeah, I mean, we've had a good run, and again, we're talking about randomness happening in games between uh today the game was San Jose State and Eastern Michigan, or Connecticut Marshall, come on, or UConn Marshall. So it's fine. That being said, we did well on BYU SMU. That was pretty cool. But yeah, no, some weird and Fresno State. We had a good call on that one. But again, lots of random stuff has been happening in some of these bowl games. Like UAB won, um, but they just didn't cover because they decided to mess around for a long time. So, but yeah, weird stuff's been happening in these bowl games. So all right, so let's continue with week 2 of the bowls. So which bowls we're gonna be talking about this week?
So, just a reminder, we've got 3 categories of bowls. We've got first we're going to do if you really really need to bet on a bowl, then the plays that I like and the plays that I love. I've kind of put a little imaginary scenario for the first group here, and that's basically I've got a friend who doesn't really bet and is in Vegas for night or whatever, and just saying, "Hey, I'm in Vegas. What should I bet on?" So these are kind of, I guess, that's the only context in which there's a play here. It's kind of like you got to create a play for a friend that you don't want to you want you to think is kind of smart. And I'm hoping they didn't listen to part 1 of the bold pod here and get other ideas about my level of intelligence at least. So the first one, where we're just kind of doing create your own adventure in terms of a bet, the Independence Bowl, Houston giving 7 to Louisiana. Um, Kind of funny now, if you think back before the season, these teams kind of disappointed actually. I was a little bearish on Houston because they were so lucky and they didn't really show big improvement metrics. But coming in, a lot of people thought they would win like 10 or 11 games this season. Louisiana, a lot of people just had them on autopilot because they had won last season and didn't really kind of dig in and figure that, oh my gosh, they lost a ton and Billy Napier went to Florida. So I guess we'd call this the mildly disappointing bowl. My model has this 31 to 28 in favor of Houston, which is right on line with the total of 59 and a half. When I'm digging in a little deeper into the numbers, the thing that sticks out to me is Houston's offense. Their first 6 games, they were only one expected point per game over all of FBS average performance. So they're basically just performing like a mediocre offense. Last 6 games, that went up to 16 expected points per game over the FBS average. So big step up. But the thing that's tricky is all those defenses were significantly worse than Louisiana. The Sun Belt actually had a pretty good season. It's weird to say things like this in defense. Their defense is really highly ranked, and I was surprised that Louisiana is actually above FBS average in defense, coming from a G5 conference. Their defense tailed off a little bit the last 3 games this season, but otherwise it was pretty consistent and good. Both the offenses are below average and pretty much inconsistent. So I put this data together just thinking if I talk through it, I might be able to come up with a pick, and I'm really no closer right now than, than at the start of this. I might just go maybe just grab the points just because if Louisiana's got a decent enough defense, in a good defensive conference, maybe just question mark.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. it's 7. My model has Houston as a big favorite here. Um, I don't completely agree with that. I mean, it does seem kind of like a random patch that it would have Houston in a blowout here. But like, I guess I'd take again. This is not particularly a pretty inspiring game here. This is Friday afternoon, so um, I think I'm gonna go with not betting on this. Maybe a live bet, right? Like if you see Louisiana get up, then maybe you can bet Houston money line or something. I don't know. If you see something live you like, maybe Clayton Tune passing stuff or something. I don't know. But this isn't particularly a game that's really caught my eye at this point. I would say I'm looking at other games, um, but it's a game. It's a bowl game.
It is a technically a bowl game,
It is
yes.
technically a bowl game. This is the game. This is the day. This game is going to be before. This is the day before Christmas Eve. So yeah, and Christmas Eve this year is special because we have all the NFL games are actually happening on Christmas Eve this year. So
Hmm.
on a Saturday. So yeah. So not particular. If I have to play, if I had to play, I'd probably play Houston. But I think I'll be okay with not playing this game.
It's kind of a getaway game, huh? Is it? I think on Christmas Eve, the only game that we have is the Hawaii Bowl.
Hmm.
So
Yes,
this might
that's
be
the.
kind of your last little, yeah.
Well, that's the
Let's
afternoon game. There is a night game, which is I think our next.
let's just say that it's Friday. It means this is going to involve a lot of drinking if you're watching this one.
Yes.
Okay. We're of the same mind there. The next one is the Gasparilla Bowl. Do you know what Gasparilla is?
I think it's a drink. I think.
That is sarsaparilla.
Oh, okay.
And if you Google it, just things with like pirate adventures in Tampa kind of pop up. So I don't know if Gasparilla is a festival or a pirate part of town. It's I'm more confused than ever. I thought Gasparilla was some kind of like I don't know, like home care device. I don't know. Anyways, Wake Forest is giving one to Missouri. Sam Hartman, he is playing in this game. I think he's declaring for the draft though after this game, but this is he's playing this game. My model has this Missouri by 3, 29-26, which is a little bit below the total of 60 and a half. um, you've got two teams that are kind of mirror images, or pardon me, you've got a kind of a matchup of good on good and a bad on bad here. The Wake Forest offense is a plus 2.5, and the Missouri defense is a plus 5. So that's kind of the interesting one. The opposite side of that is almost a mirror image. Missouri's offense is a minus 2.5. Wake Forest defense is a minus 3. That's kind of like who's going to stink worse. I don't know what to make of this. Nothing again stands out here. I'm a little surprised that Wake Forest's offensive metrics aren't a little better. I think they were a lot better last season. Don't know if that's a matter of just talent lost or people kind of getting the hang of how to defend the mesh. So I've kind of got two options here, and I'm not sure which one to play. And I'll see if you like A or B, or if you go off the menu here. So Wake Forest giving one to Missouri. Um, I'm thinking maybe just option A is just take Wake, money line or whatever. Just because their identity lines up with the head coach. This is Missouri's third year under Drinkwitz, and their offense is stunk every year. And I'm just wondering if, in a bowl game, Wake is going to be able to do more because they actually know what they're doing, and there's just alignment from the head coach down. The other option B would be, and I went to this play quite a bit, or this angle quite a bit, a small parlay with Missouri and the under, because the only way Missouri wins is the under. So, it's one of those, I guess you'd call a loosely correlated same game parlay. I think your books would let you play that. um, and I could be talked into either one, but I've narrowed it down to two. You're going to go off the board with option C, or you like one of those?
I don't know. So this game has a lot. This was such a weird question and such a weird game for me. So one, I didn't know what I thought Gasparilla was a drink, but apparently that's sarsaparilla. So that's another bunch of questions that I didn't know I had before. So that's a new question. The other question was when I saw this line. I think this line was like even or something. When it first launched, it was either even or like Wake Forest -3, and I'm like, that seems like way too few points. I'm like, I can't wait to see what my model says for that game. And I ran it. It's Missouri -6. I'm like, what? How is like a decent-ish ACC team getting crushed by one of the worst SEC teams that made a bowl game? I'm like, what? How is that even possible? And because like what Missouri is like what the second worst team in the SEC, right, next to Vanderbilt. I'm like, right? Yeah, they are right, basically.
Yeah, I wouldn't, as much as we like to goof on A&M, I wouldn't put them, ahead of
Oh, okay, okay,
A&M.
fine. There's A&M there, okay, but there's just that's still like
Not
again, there.
A&M's better.
Okay, fine.
I,
There's not that.
I mean,
Yeah, but like, there's not that many. Like, it's not like there's like a bunch of. Like, not like they're like the top team in the league. Like, how is it possible that the ACC is like that much worse power rating than like a pretty bad SEC team? And I don't know. Like, I'm scared off of this because the model has it Missouri -6, and it's even. So like, I kind of am sad I missed out the Missouri +3. But like again though, like it's like you're betting against Sam Hartman in a bowl game. He's going to try to raise his draft stock. That's kind of a tough sell for me, honestly. I kind of I it's such a hard call. I kind of think you want to. I don't hate that the under 58 and like the because you can on my books you can like you can usually parlay a spread and the under like in the over
hmm
under you get the parlay the spread or the total. You get a nice like, +2 something parlay. So I actually don't hate that. I might play that actually. But again
yeah,
though,
it's
like
just
it's
I can't see Missouri outscoring them. I mean,
yeah.
their quarterback play is stunk under Drinkwitz the whole time, and it's not going to turn around all of a sudden,
Mhm.
no matter how bad Wake Forest's defense is.
This game is randomly at 6:30 on Friday night. This is after the
Oh boy,
Houston,
more
Louisiana.
drinking.
Yeah, more drinking on the 23rd. So yeah, not a. I'm not particularly impressed with either of these games. There's a reason why they're in the category. If you really need to bet on a bowl, there's reasons
Yeah.
why.
All right, we agree on that on both those then. The next one, this might be one of my favorites, although it's again, it's kind of those create your own angle. The Quick Lane Bowl, Bowling Green given 3.5 New Mexico State. So stick with me for a second here. So one thing that I really, really do not enjoy is when an SEC team begins the season, preseason ranked number three. They maybe lose one game in the regular season. They go on to win the national championship. They never fell out of like the top six. And what do they say? Nobody believed in us. It makes me want to vomit. Well, guess what, kids? Bowling Green and New Mexico State, this is the Nobody Believed in Us Bowl. I love Jerry Kill, and I am his biggest fan, and I didn't think he'd win more than 3 games. They got into a bowl game. Now they, had to schedule Valparaiso, but still, unbelievable. Um, my model has this 27-24 in favor of Bowling Green, a little bit over the total of 49 and a half. Um, so as much as I love that these teams are in this game, objectively, both teams are horrible on both sides of the ball. There's, you know, the quote strongest unit involved here is the Bowling Green defense, which is a -3.3. So that puts them in the same category as Wake Forest's defense and Utah State's defense. That's the high point in terms of talent and performance here. So I don't think we'll be getting a lot of instructional video from this bowl. When you have, if you remember during the season when I went into how I bet overs or more specifically unders, I really just start with who are the elite defenses that are going to travel because those are the ones, your elite defenses are the ones that can actually stick to a projected total that's below the spread. If I flip that around, if I've got the best unit in this game as a -3.3, that makes the total just unbettable. I don't care what your opinion is, just it's going to be random. You don't know who's going to stink worse on which side of the ball for each team. Um, so if I'm going to play a side, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit what I just said, but this kind of goes in line with the last one. I'm going to go with if I have to make a play, my friend is in Vegas and is begging me. I might have to walk him through it as he goes to the counter. I just say take New Mexico State money line and parlay it with the under. Because again, if I kind of have you know a little bit of trauma from those horrible quarterbacking games at the beginning of the season for New Mexico State when we were goofing on Diego Pavia. and his like going 2 for 12 for 8 yards. Um, so I don't think that New Mexico State, notwithstanding what happened against Liberty, runs it up here. I think that if they win, it'll be in a typical gross, disgusting Jerry Kill kind of way. And I would lean to Jerry Kill because he's better than Scott Loeffler as a coach. So putting together a little bit of data points here, there, and everywhere, and throw them into one bucket for some kind of play to impress my friend in Vegas.
Yeah, I will say that yeah, I don't hate the idea of betting against MAC teams in bowls. That's generally kind of a good thing to do. Uh,
Except today, but
except today
we
apparently,
move
yeah.
on.
But like New Mexico, actually, yeah, they could go 2-0 today in bowl games. But New Mexico, I mean, the thing is, again, I generally like to try to bet on teams that like are going to like they're trying to play for something, right? Like, I mean, Bowling Green. I don't think they really had a ton of high expectations. Like, I don't think they thought they were going to win the MAC or something. But like again, they're like, yeah, we had a season, it was good. But like New Mexico State, it's like, man, we really came out here and we weren't even expected to win 3 games, and we went to a bowl, right? So I mean, like, and they had to play another game. They scheduled, I think, a D2 team, and they destroyed them. Like, I don't know. Like, again, where is this game even being played? This is on Boxing Day, which is, yeah, this is being played on Boxing Day. So at 2:30 in the afternoon on Boxing Day. So that's so actually, yeah. So, oh man, these poor kids. You don't get to spend Christmas with your family. You have to go play in the what, the quick lane bowl at like 2:30 on Chris. That's horrible. But
Well, where better to spend your Christmas than Detroit, though, right?
wow. What? So yeah. So like the thing is, again, motivations for this, right? Like, who's gonna really want to go to this game and actually compete? And yeah, maybe New Mexico State and the unders have been like, aside from today's earlier game, unders have been hitting pretty, like, not horribly at all so far in these bowl games. I think the unders have been. I think the under hit in quite a few games. I think it hit in the Florida game. I think it Florida Oregon State. I think it hit in BYU. SMU. I think it hit in quite a lot. The unders have been hitting in quite a lot of these games, so I think maybe not a bad idea. 47 is a bit low, but I think it's definitely a playable under, and maybe New Mexico State money line um, under 47.5. That's maybe not bad.
Okay. All right. Next one that's in this, I guess if I have to make a bet, category, the Camellia Bowl. I guess a camellia is a flower.
I think it
I
is. Yeah.
think I actually. Okay. I don't think I've seen a camellia flower. I might know one or two people named Camellia.
So wait, is the
um.
flower sponsoring the bowl?
Well, does Rose sponsor the Rose Bowl?
Big Rose.
Yes. Yeah, big Rose. So Georgia Southern is given 3.5 to Buffalo. Um, my model's got this 37-31, which is a little bit over the total, 64.5. Um, the best unit in this game is the Georgia Southern offense, which is a +4, which is actually surprisingly good, especially in the first year when they transitioned away from that run heavy kind of triple option kind of ish offense. Um, the Buffalo defense is all over the place. They actually had a few decent games, but they were all against offenses that were well below what I have Georgia Southern ranked. Um, Buffalo on offense, they have 7 performances I literally consider to be abysmal, not just like bad, but just, horribly bad, like Temple at the beginning of the season before EJ Warner found his groove bad. Um, I think, all these things line up to, I'm just going to characterize this as a logical play, is Georgia Southern -3.5. And I, not that I'm going to play this at all, but if I'm going to tell my buddy in Vegas to play that, I will probably just say, this is a logical play. Just so you know, Clay Helton in bowls stinks. He won once, and otherwise, his team just get physically dominated. So I will just kind of present it as the logical play and not be tempted at all to actually play this with my own money.
Yeah. I mean, my model has Georgia Southern here, but again, this is just such a weird bowl. I think the play is probably Georgia Southern, but do you want to trust them in a bowl game? I don't know.
Yeah, they just, It's too easy to see like 5 minutes in, all of a sudden they're just getting just knocked on their butts on defense. It's like, yep, should have known it. This is what Clay Helton does. His teams just peter out at the end of the season.
5 minutes in, it's already 14-0 Buffalo because there's a pick six.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, you're not really finding any gems in the scraps I'm putting together here.
We're
So
we're we're, we're, we're rapidly approaching better bowls. We are approaching
yeah,
these. We're getting there.
okay. Let me see how many more of these crummy ones I've got here. Only about 7 more. They'll get more interesting though, folks. Okay, the Birmingham Bowl. Um, ECU giving 10.5 to Coastal Carolina. Um, Grayson McCall is in the portal. I've seen him kind of pop up here, there, to and fro, hither and yon, whatever they say. um, Still not sure where he's going to land. For those who don't know, Jamie Chadwell, the coach, is now at Liberty, which is kind of weird, but Sun Belt to Conference USA is not a move I think we'll see very many people make, but Liberty's private and has all kinds of money. So I guess that's what happened there. My model has ECU by 4, 41 to 37, which is actually way above the total of 62, but I can buy that because Coastal Carolina is just not the same team without Grayson McCall. Now, here's what's interesting. They're not nearly the same without McCall, but in their last game without him against Southern Miss, they actually did. They didn't do as horribly as one might think. Again, they're not the same. It looked like they kind of took a little time to figure out what are we supposed to do here. Um, I think that there might be a little too much no McCall and Chadwell baked into this line. This might be the one where 10.5 is just too many points to give. So, I'm not really tempted to take this other than just like maybe feeling like a smart guy. But if I had to play this, or I would just, my buddies in Vegas, I would just say, yeah, take Coastal plus 10.5.
I've so this is actually 7.5 now. So it was an
Wow.
older line. Yeah. The thing is, this team looked really bad the second you didn't have Grayson McCall there, and additionally, that's not a great sign for Liberty next year because their coach suddenly looked really bad without their quarterback running it, right? So, not the greatest of signs. It's something to bookmark for next year in
Hmm.
Liberty. The thing is, like, I can't bet on Coastal right now. They've just been absolutely getting destroyed the last couple of weeks since McCall's injury and him just not playing. So I already put Eastern. I already put ECU on there. Might do a little bit more on in the future, but I do like ECU in this game. ECU's had a weird season. They almost took out NC State really early. NC State
Yeah.
was an ACC favorite at one point, or almost an ACC favorite. That was the beginning of the year. They almost beat NC State, but they couldn't because of they couldn't get a field goal. So yeah, this is I think ECU could use it this as a cap off in the year and just crush a coastal team that has no coach and no quarterback. So I don't think that's a horrible bet. This game is Tuesday afternoon ish, Tuesday 6:45 Eastern time. This is not bad. That's actually pretty decent for watching. There's no other games on at that point. There's no NFL game or anything, so that's not bad actually. But yeah, I'm taking ECU. This is actually a well no ECU is in North Carolina. Coastal is in South Carolina. So I guess it's somewhat of a regional rivalry, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever played though. I think I heard somebody say that like these teams as close as they are to each other, they haven't played, and probably some of that's like Coastal didn't have a program until like I think 12 years ago or something
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah,
Okay, well, good luck with that.
this one game will spark a rivalry that lasts decades.
Yeah. Okay. This one's more interesting to me than the prior ones. Duke giving 3 to UCF in the Military Bowl. This is one of those mirror image metrics matchups. Duke's offense I have is a plus 4.4. UCF's is a plus 4.0. Duke's defense is a minus 2.4. A little surprising under Mike Elko, although they stunk last season, so it definitely made progress in year one. And UCF is a minus 2.8. Given this is so close, my model has this Duke by 2. 36-34, actually well above the total of 62.5. This is so close. So when I dug in a little closer, UCF's defensive problem is against the run. Um, which okay, Duke runs the ball pretty well. They're not like exceptional, but they're good enough running the ball. Um, I think I'm gonna tangle myself up here in a double negative here. Duke's defense, their vulnerability is against the pass. So that doesn't really concern me because if I can get Mike Elko in a bowl that definitely means a lot to them, and make this, his defense against John Rice Plumlee, who we don't really think is the best quarterback on this podcast, the UCF quarterback. I think that's the angle to take. So I think if I'm gonna bet this one, it would be on Duke.
It's weird because my model actually favors UCF, which I thought was crazy. I'm like, I kind of thought we were gonna get points with Duke, but then we didn't, and then I was sad. But then I found out that the model like UCF, and now I'm terrified because that means I'd have to bet on John Riss Plumley, and I'm like, oh no, that sounds horrible. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a no for me. I think I don't want to bet on. I'd love to bet on Duke, but the model says bet on UCF. I don't want to do that. So I think no. I mean, there's better games to bet on. Again, this is such a again some of these are so weird bowls. This is gonna be on. This is at 2 o'clock Eastern on a Wednesday. So,
Jeez, that's like lunchtime for me.
yeah, well, yeah, that's 11 a.m. for you, 2 o'clock Eastern. Like it's just
Yeah.
some of these games are the weirdest times. It's like yeah, here's a game on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Got nothing. I have no idea why. I don't know. I'd love to bet Duke here, but I'm a little scared too. So I think I will pass in that game. But we're starting to get some actual bettable games here. Maybe this next one, and then after that, there's some actual plays here we have.
Yeah. And to be clear, I actually think that'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah,
Duke versus UCF, especially with the season that Duke had. So,
this could be a
um,
really good like. I think this game should probably be pretty close. So like this is like if UCF scores early, then I will immediately bet on Duke. Like that. Like
mm,
you give me like Duke plus like 6.5 or 3.5 or like 100%. Like not even a question. It's on Duke, right?
yeah.
Or if Duke scores early, maybe you can get like 14.5 with UCF. So like you could maybe get a really good middle with this game. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know about that 14.5. If you can get it, grab it. I'd say that. All right, this is Minnesota. Minnesota is giving 8. Again, another mirror image game. Two okay offenses, who had injuries at pretty key spots on offense. Two very good defenses. This is interesting. PJ Fleck is 3-0 in bowls at Minnesota, which,
Hmm.
kind of to go into your who's going to play hard. I think that he's just one of those guys who his team will not just no show for a bowl. Tanner Morgan, I couldn't find anything certain on his status. All I could find just saying that he's uncertain for the bowl game. What's interesting is his backup, who's got a really tricky name, and I guess I'll have to learn it in the offseason, threw for 300 yards against a pretty good Wisconsin defense, actually a very good Wisconsin defense. So I think even if Morgan can't play, the pieces are in place there. Minnesota had significant injuries at quarterback and wide receiver and running back this season. So I think they're better going into this game than their season metrics are showing, um, which are yielding a Minnesota 2-point win, 26-24, which is significantly over the total of 42 that I last saw. If I go to Syracuse, they lost 5, um, all in a row when Garrett Schrader wasn't healthy. Remember, Schrader had that amazing start to the season, and I couldn't believe it. But basically, Robert Anaya has turned his career around, Schrader's career around. So I wanted to see, okay, what does Schrader going to do against a Minnesota level defense? And I can't say because every good defense that Syracuse played was in that little valley when Schrader either was out or just not himself and not healthy. So I don't have any kind of data point for how he might do against a Minnesota level defense. So if I'm looking for a play here, the 8 doesn't feel off. Again, there's just so much uncertainty with Syracuse. Um, I think what I'm gonna do is take the over 42, just because I think there's a lot of blank space to the upside. Again, my metrics have this game going over already, and then we've got a lot more health at the key positions for the Minnesota offense than are baked into the numbers. And if Schrader is okay, which I think he is, he'll be, there's probably better offensive performance that are baked into Syracuse's metrics too. So even though both defenses are better than the offenses here, if I'm gonna play it, I would play over 42. And now you're gonna tell me with the 47 and just
The
poop
the
on my parade here.
the line is actually 10 now. It's still the over under is 42, but the line is 10 now. Syracuse plus 10.
Wow.
I make it 8. Um, so that I have the name of the quarterback. It's Elfin Kalikmanis or Kalikmanis. That's the one because
Yeah.
it would have. So don't know about Tanner Morgan. My model assumes Schrader. Actually, Schrader's a better QB. My only concern is that the last time they played against a good defense was against Clemson, and like they were kind of lucky to win that game. Like that was not like I mean they were 14.5 point dogs. They almost won. Um, but like they were lucky to be that close to in that game. Like they shut down Syracuse, Clemson too. But like they got lucky with field position and interceptions from DJ and stuff like that. So
As DJ will do.
yes, but 10 points though. I mean, Minnesota isn't. It's not really a world beater here. Minnesota's not really world beater here. Maybe 10 is too many points. I may consider that. Maybe Syracuse some spread and money line there. Maybe not too bad. I mean, 3-0 in bowl games. Like at a certain point, you'd assume there'd be some sort of regression, right? Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, but I think I'm more interested in like will they show up?
That is true.
Um,
I don't know. Syracuse probably made a bowl last year? Probably. I don't know. It's weird. I think with 10 you gotta take the points with Syracuse. But again, not a particularly great bowl. But there are better. The next bulls we talk about, we promise, are better bulls. What's the next? Here, the first kind of okay bowl. Here we go.
okay. The Cheez It Bowl, right where I think Oklahoma was hoping to wind up when they replaced Lincoln Riley with the upgrade, he said in quotes, of Brett Venables. Oklahoma is getting 8 from Florida State. I've got this Florida State 38-27, which is right on line with the total of 65. Um, so I don't really see a soft number to grab here. You might feel differently. Um, so I'm just gonna instead just kind of take a little 90-second detour here and just go over the Florida State team profile. They improved immensely through the 2022. Remember against the LSU game that looked like two bad teams just like trying not to win the game, and
Hmm.
Florida State didn't succeed in not winning the game, or however we say it. But sneakily, they were way under the radar. They they lost 3 games all in a row, and I think that really got them off the national grid for a while. But they ended the season fifth overall in FBS in my metrics. Um, Not only that, of that top five, the only other teams that are plus six, six, positive six or more on both sides of the ball are Georgia and Michigan. You're getting into some pretty elite company here. Um, so I think I might actually grab them for see what kind of odds I can get to win the playoff next year. I don't know if you've seen anything for next year yet. You
Yeah,
kind
no.
of
I
encyclopedic.
I have not seen any. I've not seen any futures for next year. No. They will probably come soon though. You usually get like final futures maybe a month or so after the season. Usually, like they'll have to probably wait till the portal closes and stuff like that. But that I actually do like that idea of them next year. Like again, as we mentioned here, it's you've got a lot of like they're a really good team, and there's probably an argument that like in an expanded playoff they could have been in contention for an expanded playoff spot. To be honest, depending on what had happened. And again, I think they lost out because they had a bad loss to NC State and they couldn't get the job done against Clemson. But if they could have done that, I think they're in the playoff. And well, not the 14 and 12 team obviously, but like yeah, I think they're one of the better teams, and I love the -8. It is a -9 now, but again, not a huge difference between a -8 and a -9. Very hard to win a game by exactly 9 points, especially when you're just crushing people, which Florida State has done recently. Um, yeah, even with Dylan Gabriel, I mean, Oklahoma just a very disappointing season. I kind of really like I like Florida State here. I think they're the better team, and I'll take them and maybe some props here too. But yeah, give me Florida State.
Yeah. I might look at the under also, even though I'm projecting a final score that's right on the number.
I have an underscore. I have 40-22, so I have 62.
Okay. I just think that they're kind of at that point of the trajectory of the coaching tenure here where it's like, okay, this is kind of our springboard to next season. They might I'm kind of hoping it's not too bad, but they might just want to kind of just really just like win by 40 just to say 23 is our year, to get that notice. Um, so yeah, I believe I think Florida State's the right side. I might go to under just because they might just I want to say they might overwhelm Oklahoma, though the Big Ten has some pretty good defenses, especially at the top with Texas actually has a really good defense, and Kansas State's a good defense too. So, mm, yeah, I might just stick to Florida State here.
I don't hate the under either. That may not be bad. Um, I mean, Oklahoma was just a very disappointing team. I'm actually not really that surprised they made a bowl game because they did beat some other teams. But like, yeah, just not a great year for this Oklahoma team at all. And I think that I think we definitely should we should. Yeah, I'm not really afraid to play Florida here. I'm not afraid to play them at all. This game is on Thursday at 5:30 in the afternoon, and it leads into our next game, which is actually pretty a game I view as very bettable. Not definitely not in the not bettable category.
The Sark Bowl,
Yes, the Super
yes.
Bowl.
Um, the Alamo Bowl, which I think that's in San Antonio, right?
I believe
Um,
so. Yeah.
yeah. So Texas is giving 4. I don't know if that line has moved since.
Let me check. I don't think so. Because we actually had news about this game. Bijan Robinson has opted out of this game, and but he will be on the sidelines. But he's just not going to play in the game. He's going to get ready for the NFL draft. Which, to be honest, that's completely fair, right? Why are you going
Yeah,
to you're running back? Why are you going to risk an ACL injury when you're going to go in like the top 20 in like a couple months, right? So very
yeah.
fair.
um, so the total is 66 and a half. I'm coming to just a little bit lower with Texas winning 39-24, which is pretty much in line with the spread. When I look at at this game a little deeper, I've got Texas as a 6.0 or higher on both sides of the ball. Um, I've got Washington's offense as a 6. Their defense is really just the weak link here. And when I dig a little deeper, um, it's the games like this, particularly, or a team like Texas. Texas, as much as I like to make fun of Sark, they actually have great metrics. The great thing about Sark is he finds a way to totally underperform them year after year after year. Um, what really sticks out to me is Washington against the 3 best passing offenses they faced: UCLA, Arizona, and Oregon. Gave up 10.3 yards, adjusted yards when I adjust for interceptions. I penalize for those, but over 10 yards per attempt. That's just nuts. That's just unbelievable. Against all others, it was 6.3, which is pretty good. But I can tell you that I think Texas is a lot closer to the UCLA, Arizona, Oregon strata of offenses than the other teams that Washington played. So This was a no-brainer before. I'm a little hesitant now, as you mentioned, with Bijan out, but kind of just want to go with whatever the Texas team total is and go over on their
Mm,
side.
that's fair. My model actually does love Texas a lot in here. Now I haven't adjusted for no Bijan. I'd assume there'd actually be a very large adjustment for Bijan, right? Because how many times have we seen Bijan just literally? I mean, we've seen him win games. I think he literally won the game against. Oh God, who was it? There was literally a game when like they were like in trouble and he just won the game, and like they covered the spread. It was I can't. What team was it? It was wasn't TCU? Was it K State? It was a Big 12 game. I can't remember which one it was, but there was like literally a game where it was just like Bijan had like these massive runs and they just could not stop him at all. And like that matters a lot, right? Because I mean, if you don't have a running back that can do that, it basically collapses your passing game, right? And I think they definitely take advantage of that because basically they take advantage of the fact that they have to stuff a bunch of people in the box, and then because of that, then it opens up a lot of passing lanes. So I absolutely love Washington here. Michael Penix is coming back for them. I'm on Washington here. I know the model says that.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going against the model here. I really like Michael Penix. I really think he's good. My question is though in this because Sark used to be a head coach for USC. How was he in bowl games at USC?
He made one bowl game. They won a close game against Nebraska, the
That's
Holiday Bowl.
it's not very inspiring.
No, yeah, I think that might have been like, gosh, when did Bo Pelini get fired? I think it was maybe Bo Pelini's last season,
Oh, okay, maybe.
2014. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Cause Scott Frost has been there for way too long, so that sounds about right. But yeah,
Oh
that.
no, it would have been Mike Riley. I'm missing
Oh, okay.
somebody. Riley was after. Yeah,
Yeah, cause so the yeah, so, I mean, this is his first bowl. This is Sark's first bowl game in like forever. Um, my only
yeah.
thing is that, again that like will like because Texas does this a lot, right? Because Texas is like has a frustrating season, and then they go to a bowl game, and people are like, okay, we gotta do this, and then they win the bowl. They crush the other team in the bowl game. It's like, see, that's our guy. And like but then last year they immediately fired Tom Herman. Like 2 years ago they fired. They're like, no, we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. They fired him to try to bring in Urban Meyer, and that didn't work. So then they brought in Sark. But like this is the thing. I do worry about that a little bit, but I really do like this Washington. I like this Washington team too much to not have that. So I'm with Washington here.
Yeah, you know what's going to be interesting is with no Bijan, maybe that just ends up with Texas passing more then.
Hmm.
Um, and UW is, like I said, they're super vulnerable in the pass. Maybe if you don't like Texas team total, maybe that 66 is going to be low too.
This could be a very high scoring game, right? Like we could
Yeah.
be looking at like 28 all at the half, right? Potentially. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um Next category. I like these plays. And man, I don't like that I like this, but I guess I have to like it. Especially after I've just kind of even made fun of you for even backing this guy. The Hawaii Bowl, which is in Hawaii. San Diego State is giving 7 to Middle Tennessee State. I can't even say this out loud with just like feeling shame here, but here we go. My model has this San Diego State 21 to 20, which is well below the total of 48 and a half. Now, I'm going to identify the dirty part of my numbers here and just make a case for cleaning them up a bit. So, of course, Brady Hoke is a not great coach. It's Christmas. I'm not going to say really mean stuff about him. So of course he had the wrong guy at quarterback to start the season, Braxton Burmeister, who was also at Oregon, and then after that Virginia Tech, and he was not good at any of those places. So while Burmeister and then his backup were at quarterback, San Diego State's overall total power rating per game, we'll call it in the dark ages, was a minus 18.5. Then they stumbled into a guy that they, of course, had at safety, who was their best quarterback on the roster because Brady Hoke is an idiot. And they basically put this guy Jalen Maiden, the quarterback, and since then they are averaging a total power rating per game of plus 7.4, a swing of 26 per game. Um, so I think that, you know, it's not just me. Pretty clear they just have are a different team with Maiden at quarterback. Um, I think that that defense, even though it's not nearly what it was last year for San Diego State, I think it's a tough matchup for a pretty bad Middle Tennessee State offense. Notwithstanding what Middle Tennessee did in that awesome game against Miami, they really didn't do that since they went on a horrible losing streak after that game. So Christmas Eve, I'm gritting my teeth, but I kind of like this San Diego State giving 7.
I would so it's weird. So you have your model has 21 to 20. I've got
Yeah,
um I've got Middle Tennessee 20.9 to San Diego State 20.6.
jeez,
So we basically have the exact same. Our models have the exact functionally the exact same score
yeah.
for this game, which is kind of crazy. I've got to play Middle Tennessee State here. I mean, I understand that they've converted a safety to be quarterback. I have him in there still. I still have this as tied. Middle Tennessee again last year they were like I think 25-point underdogs in a bowl. They won outright or something. Not 25. They were like 14-point underdogs or something in the bowl game and they won outright. Just a crazy upset there too with Middle Tennessee State. I don't know. Like yeah, they obviously crushed Miami in that awesome game that happened, but like this Middle Tennessee State will just do random things, and I think this is an exact. This is a game on Christmas Eve in Hawaii. I mean, man, just such a weird day to have a game, and a weird time to have a game too, and such a weird way to do this. But yeah, I'm taking Middle Tennessee State here. I'm not messing around. I'll take Middle Tennessee State. I think they're the better team, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah,
Okay.
I think they could definitely win this game, but like this game should be close. But I mean, again, like this bowl is so like this is such a cursed bowl, right? Like you're going to Hawaii on Christmas Eve, and like some of these bowls are so weird. Like I don't know why. Like these poor kids. Like you're like, all right, you're gonna go to Hawaii. Now again, the thing is for San Diego, it's a warm place, right? So it's functionally the same weather. Middle Tennessee, though, obviously it's in the middle of Tennessee. So they're obviously from Tennessee, so it's very cold in Tennessee. It's not gonna be that cold in Tennessee. It's still pretty warm, but colder in Tennessee there. So if anybody's gonna get up for a Hawaii game, it's gonna be them. So I think maybe they can. Maybe they'll do a bit better in Hawaii for Christmas Eve. But yeah, I'm taking Middle Tennessee State. We're on opposite sides of this
We
liked play
are.
here. Yeah,
We're going to arm wrestle on Christmas Eve.
apparently, yeah.
All right. From the middle of the Pacific to the Pacific Rim, the Holiday Bowl. This has like just some flowery. This is like the San Diego County.
Credit Union.
Oh, man. So specific and local.
Yeah, it is such a weird. Usually they're not like. Usually it's like the again Gasparilla. We have no idea what that is, but it's some that's is a name now. It's like the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Um,
Well, at least we know what a San Diego County Credit Union is, though,
yes,
right?
that's pretty
Yeah.
obvious. Yeah, we know
We're
what
not
that
thinking it's a
is.
soft drink or a lawnmower.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, all right. So in the Holiday Bowl, Oregon, this has kind of been all over the place. Last I saw was Oregon giving 14.
At 14 and a half. Every
Okay.
time I look at this, it just moves slightly. I don't know why. Every time it just moves like a half a point. I don't understand why.
Well, there's going to be a ton of points. I don't know. So given 14 and a half to North Carolina, we have two elite offenses here. Oregon is a plus 7.3. North Carolina actually better at 8.0. That places them both in the top 13 in all of FBS per my metrics. Other side of the ball, not nearly as impressive. Oregon is mediocre on defense. They're 59th in FBS. North Carolina is horrible, 119th. The portal is interesting. We've had Drake May in and out, and according to esteemed reporter of the Northeast, Pat Narduzzi, Drake May is getting offers of $5 million to transfer out. Of course, he would believe that because he's an idiot. It seems like Oregon's been hit a little, kind of high with or kind of tough with a high number of transfers out. I don't know if I've just seen them all, but it just seems like there's been a lot of departures, and maybe because they're higher profile names, like Justin Flo sticks out. That shocked me. You know, he landed at Arizona, which is really weird. Hey, yeah, I'll go play for Johnny Nance because I didn't like my defensive coordinator. Okay, good luck with that. Um, so my model has this 41 to 35, a little bit above the total of 72 and a half. Um, I'm thinking that, you know, with this just this caliber of defense and these offenses, I'm way more comfortable. That 72 and a half could be just seem to be way too low. It's hard to see if you saw Oregon's defense too, that 59th just seems it seems to be generous based on how much benefit they get from an offense that scores almost every time they get the ball. It's I'm just thinking that, man, if UNC can just avoid punting more than twice, they can probably stay within the 2 touchdowns. And both these teams play at a pretty high pace. Both of them like to throw the ball really deep too. So a lot of stopped clocks, a lot of big plays. So I like Carolina plus the 14 and a half and over 72 and a half.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like the total is in this game 73, same as 72 basically, but no one is saying that neither team can score here. Everybody's like, yep, both teams are gonna be able to score, but for some reason people are like, oh, but like Oregon's gonna blow out North Carolina, which I don't see that at all. Like I have 35 to 27, so that's actually somewhat under the total, but my model sometimes has a hard time like forecasting super high scoring games, so that's about a 70ish, something that's about 70 give or take. So I'm kind of okay with that. There's about 65. So I have Oregon minus 8.8 to be exact, and like that's definitely value on plus 14 and a half, like plus 14, plus 14 and a half. Like again, if it's just such a super high scoring game, you got to put something in North Carolina money line, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't understand why we're like, well, both teams can score at any time, but like Oregon's definitely going to win by more than 2 touchdowns. Like really, are we sure about that? How does that make sense, right? How could you be like both these teams can easily score each other's defenses, but like one's gonna blow the other one out? I'm like, nah, that doesn't sound right. So give me North Carolina here. This seems like way too many points, and again, we've seen a lot of transfers out of North Carolina. Drake May left and came back. I think Bo Nix has returned. That's a good thing. But like I don't understand if there was concern he was going to be going to the NFL, which there was some concern he was going to the NFL. If that really was a concern, I don't know why this would have been 14 or 11 or whatever it was before then. So yeah, I don't know why people think Oregon's like that much better than North Carolina. I think they're similar-ish. Maybe Oregon's a touchdown, but definitely not 2 touchdowns better.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, it's going to be touchdowns galore. So having to win by more than two of those is just, just bigger picture. It's a big ask on
Mm-hmm.
Oregon side. All right. I love these plays. I don't know if you love these, but I really like each of these. So the first responder bowl, I don't remember this before. I don't know if it was called something else or I just missed some of these kooky bowl titles. Memphis is giving 7 to Utah State. I've got this Memphis winning 30 to 20, which is way below the total of 61 and a half. I'm not going to overthink this. 2.5 was the first number that my guy dropped, and I think it actually opened higher than this when the totals first came out. I don't remember. Um, this is not the tip top model play. My best underplays always, like I said earlier, involve a really elite defense, and we don't have that here. But when there's such a delta between the projected total and the spread, it's a play.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got this as 30 to 15. So similar to what you have. Again, definitely under the total, but yeah, huge value on Memphis here. Which again, as going as how this bowl season has been going so far, Utah State will destroy them. Uh, Probably like 40 to 20. At which point we're like, all right, like 40 to 25. Be like, damn. But no, like again, this is what we saw this game literally before. We were like, oh, we love UAB over Miami of Ohio, and they just messed around. They just couldn't cover the spread. But Memphis again, it's hard to like and minus 11.5. Obviously, you have to get up by 2 scores. UAB just didn't do that. But like Utah State, like Memphis, they just need to win by 7, right, or 7.5. So that's kind of if they just get up ahead by a little bit. Obviously, you need 2 scores, but it's a field goal and a touchdown rather than like 2 touchdowns. So I think they could definitely cover that. I'm on Memphis on that one too.
Okay. Um, Next one, another one that I love, the the guaranteed rate bowl. Not sure where this game is. So Wisconsin, this has probably jumped around too with all the changes in personnel. Is Wisconsin still giving 3
Three
to
and a
Oklahoma
half.
State?
Three and a half.
Okay. I've got this Wisconsin 31, Oklahoma State 15. I have made no secret of I think Graham Mertz stinks as a quarterback, and I don't think you and I ever had a really strong disagreement about that
No.
in terms of it was basically who thinks that he stinks more between you and me. Um, what is great is I think this line was 3 when he announced that he was in the portal. So this had all the movement of basically, I don't know, a tectonic plate in 20 seconds. Nothing. Um, I'm actually really looking forward to betting a Wisconsin game or betting on Wisconsin where you're not having to rely on Graham Mertz to not do something stupid for 60 minutes. Um, yeah, there's probably some questions about what Wisconsin team's going to show up. Jim Leonard is still there. He's not getting the job. He's not hanging on as defensive coordinator, which had been rumored to be a possibility for some point. But their defense is really good. Let me just see. I think I actually had them about like a top 8 or so by the season's end. Really just one of the best defenses. I think I'm in the top 8 or 10 on defensive side. They had a rough start to the season too. 6.9, yeah, so they're about top 10. um, Oklahoma State's offense, um, I only have them having one game that's above or materially above a performance of average for all of FBS all season. Um, and that goes in line with Spencer Sanders just kind of being whatever. I think people were, it's kind of funny during the season. People are saying, "Oh, is Spencer Sanders turned it around?" It's like, no, he's just not playing good teams, and he's just not really screwing up that horribly. It's kind of funny now that one game that was above average was against Central Michigan, who just completely went down the elevator shaft this year too. Their defense for Oklahoma State has been very inconsistent. Half the time, half their games this season, they're giving up over 170 yards rushing. So I think this is a really, really good matchup for Wisconsin. It's just hilarious that the line really didn't move on the Graham Mertz news, which makes me feel even more confident about this.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely taking Wisconsin and giving the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm excited to bet on Wisconsin without Graham Mertz, and again, I'm really excited to talk about what, like, again, this is not the time to talk about this, but a couple months from now, we're gonna be talking about Luke Finkel um, and his new quarterback. We're not sure who it's gonna be yet, I don't think, but he's gonna get a new quarterback at Wisconsin, and we're gonna get to see what he can do, and I'm pretty excited for that. I mean, the Big Ten West is definitely there for the taking. It's definitely not a problem division to win that division. Um, so yeah, I think he can. I'm going to be excited to see what he can do with that next season. But yeah, I mean, you're saying they gave up 170 rushes 6 times, yards rush 6 times. Well, yeah, it's not like Wisconsin is specifically known for their running offense, right?
Yeah.
Thank God that would have been a problem if they were. So yeah, we're going with Wisconsin minus 3.5 here. Yeah, I mean, again, Oklahoma State. It's so funny you bring up the Central Michigan games. Remember, they didn't cover the spread against Central Michigan, and then they went to the top 10. Remember
Yeah.
that? And then we're like, what's happening? And then and then they basically became one of the worst teams in the Big 12 all season, in terms by our metrics. It's just absolutely hilarious. What a hilarious season for this Oklahoma State team. And isn't Spencer Sanders in the transfer portal too?
Oh, I didn't even bother to look.
I think he. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think that really matters.
Yeah.
But
I would just want to just closing the circle on that awesome Central Michigan game. Totally overlooked was that Oklahoma State beat Central Michigan by I think by 12 points, and the very next week Central Michigan lost by 12 points to South Alabama.
Hmm.
and just nobody kind of even just I don't I'm not a huge comparative scores guy, but nobody even kind of made the case. It just seemed like national laziness about okay, one team was 6-6 in the Sun Belt last year, and the other one's a top 10 team. They both beat Central Michigan by 12.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, such a again for them for when once a team is ranked high enough, then like s- the national media, especially in the rankings, they're too lazy to do like second order dominance in this stuff. So they're
yeah,
just like, all right, did the teams ahead of them win? Okay, they stay where they are. Did the teams ahead of them lose? No, okay, then they'll go up a spot, right? Or if they lost, they'll drop. If the teams ahead of them won, then they'll stay where they are and they won. But like it's a very simple formula to figure out, and it's really dumb. But hopefully, and I'm going to spend some time in the off season. Hopefully, we get a chance to do this. I'm going to hopefully build my own top 25 for next year. So we'll have that. We'll release a graphic on that once a week. There'll definitely be a Twitter graphic on that. It's definitely going to be different than other people's top 25s. Probably going to be similar to the BCS top 25, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm
mm,
excited for that. That's hopefully we get to do that. But for now, we just get to point, and then we'll get to really point and laugh at when they do stuff like it's saying stuff like Oklahoma State. We'll be like, yeah, they're like our 70th best team. They're
yes.
like a top 10 team. What's the next game for you?
Arkansas giving 3 to Kansas. I've got this Kansas by 7, 43-36, which is well above the total of 69. What's interesting too is that total is you've got Arkansas's numbers are dirtied a little bit because KJ Jefferson missed 2 games and he's back for this game. Both these teams have FBS or defenses that are below the FBS average. Kansas's offensive rating is a plus 9.8, which is nationally elite. You put all these together, and I think that this game goes over the 69 pretty easily. I don't know if Kansas made anybody punt more than 3 times all season either. Very obliging defense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing of it is, on one hand, I'm 100% here for. I have Kansas favored. I have Kansas favored by three, not as much as you have them favored. I don't think, but still favored. And I don't have this going over the total, but oh no, sorry, it was like yeah, oh no, I do have it. I have 66, so over the total as well. I will say though that like I'm on Kansas and I've already bet Kansas here in this game, but like man, we've been hurt a lot of times by this Kansas team. They've let us down like early in the season. It was great when they like destroyed Houston by like 2 scores. That was great, awesome. But like they've let us down a couple of weeks here, so I'm ready to be hurt again. One more time, one more time onto the breach. Let's do this for
Yeah. Well,
into.
everybody has good and bad days. I
No,
mean, look at
exactly.
our week last week, okay?
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, I mean, I've loved this. I mean, here's the thing. Again, this Kansas team with Lance Leipold now, like, it's just an amazing journey for this team, right? To win 2 games last year, to going 6-6 for a bowl, and they started the season 6-0, and just a bit disappointed. They did end up, oh no, I think 5-0, and then they lost. A bit disappointed, only end up 6-6, but again, they're only going up here, right? Like next year, they could be potentially competing for the Big 12 title, the Big 12, which will have I think 16 teams next year, but only for 1 year because apparently Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. So again, hopefully Kansas can cap off an amazing year by beating this Arkansas team that was extremely inconsistent throughout the entire year. Did good things and then really bad things, and then some okay things and then some really bad things again. So let's see let's see what this Arkansas team can do, and hopefully Kansas wins there.
Yep. Okay, and I think this is the last one for this week.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Texas Tech is getting 3.5 from Ole Miss in the Texas Bowl. Where's the Texas Bowl?
If it's not in Texas, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah. um, yeah, I have no idea where that is. I mean, what city it is. So Texas Tech. The first thing I wanted to do was just to see if there's any kind of angle that we're missing with Texas Tech. So they started 3 different quarterbacks this season, and the thing is, it's not like they did a whole bunch better with any one of these guys at quarterback. They were just kind of whatever with all 3 of these guys. So I can't really say there's any value in their metrics over the season. The defense is I kind of characterize the Tech defense as a front runner. It's good versus its worst opponents, and then if it's facing a better opponent, it's just hopeless. It's kind of like that horse that if it can get to an easy lean, it can hang on for the win. But if that horse gets headed, even after a quarter mile, done. And that's exactly what that Texas Tech defense is. Except, of course, when Sark played there and he just did his Sark thing because he stinks on the road and he gave this horrible defense life and belief. Throw that out, and the rest of the games are pretty predictable. Um, so you've got a very vulnerable defense here in Texas Tech. So when I look at a peer group for Ole Miss, specifically their offense, in who Texas Tech played, that would be the group of Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas State. So I can't even quantify. I'm coming up with, and I kind of don't want to throw this out. Um, I'll just say that the spread in how the Tech defense performs against that caliber of offense is extremely significant versus the other teams. So I think that while their offense, there's no real dirt in their metrics, I think that the opposite side, the Tech defense metrics, are probably prettied up by some of these lesser offenses that they've played, and they could be just absolute carnage. Mississippi, Jackson Dart has been okay, not great, but Mississippi is awesome at running the ball. And, you know, if you look back at Mississippi, they don't just like run for 150 or 180. They will run for like 250 or 300 yards and not even think twice about it just because that's what they like to do. And they do it pretty easily. Um, Tech gave up 200 yards rushing or more 5 times this season. Um, the total is 66 and a half. And my model is forecasting 35 to 24. I just think that 35 is actually going to be short, if anything, for Ole Miss. Um, we've talked about their defense has gotten a little shaky as the season's gone on Ole Miss's side, but it seems like if they can just force 2 or 3 stop, they can just get that lead and just make Texas Tech give up. So I like Ole Miss giving 3.5 here.
Yeah, I'm with you on Ole Miss. I've got Ole Miss minus 10, 10 and a half. I looked this up online. The Texas Bowl is in Houston, so it's out.
Okay.
It's the tax. It's the tax.
NRG.
Yeah, and the energy in Houston. It's also the Tax Act Texas Bowl. So yeah, that's fine. I think they're trying to do some sort of pun on that because like Tax Act, Tech, whatever. It's dumb. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah, they got to workshop that more.
they gotta workshop that more. It doesn't flow very well. Definitely not as well as the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Definitely not as good as that one.
Yes.
But no, I mean this is the thing, right? Like my only concern here is that this Ole Miss team is insanely fraudulent. Like this team is nowhere near as good as some people think it is. That being said, Texas Tech is also not really good either. So I think Ole Miss is better than them, but again, that would be the most Ole Miss thing to do. Would be they just mop up against bad teams, right? And I think this is that. My only other concern here, though, is that Lane Kiffin has finally got the big pay increase, right? So it was rumored he was going to go to Auburn for some reason, and he's like, no. And then I think he got a massive guaranteed salary contract, right? Didn't he sign a deal or not? I think he did.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a bit of a concern, but I'm not sure that would affect this year or maybe next year more when they're playing SEC teams again. So, but I think this Texas Tech team is not great. So I'm gonna give. I'll go with Ole Miss here. Ole Miss, of course, lost to Baylor last year in the bowl game because Matt Corral got injured. Um,
Yeah.
but again, had they not done, actually, no, I'm realizing now, had they not done that, they had like then they still actually were somewhat competitive in that game. So even had Matt Corral not gotten injured, I think they would have they may have actually won that game. So give me Ole Miss here. I think Texas Tech is still worse than Baylor was last year. It's definitely worse than that. So yeah,
Okay. Cool. So that's all the Bulls we're covering this week.
I think we're gonna do one more next week, and that'll be the last of the Bulls then.
That will be it. Yeah. So what do you want to make your official plays here?
Huh. I gotta get better plays than last week. Uh, give me Washington. I'll go Washington here.
Wow.
It's probably not a good idea, but whatever. I don't trust Sark in a bowl. Give me Washington +4.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the Old Miss case I just made. I feel strongly about that.
That's fair. Give me. I'll take Wisconsin. Give me Wisconsin. We get to fade get to fade Oklahoma State one last time this season, one last ride.
Yes. Okay. And then my other one, I just made the case for as well: Arkansas versus Kansas State,
Kansas.
going over 69.
Hmm. Uh, is that it for that, or do we want to do more?
Do you have one more you want to make? Up to you.
Give me Florida
That's all
State.
I got.
Give me Florida State.
Okay, yeah, good. Taking a note here. Okay. And then finally, the dual model plays this week. Um, I have Wisconsin 15 and a half points better than Oklahoma State. You have them 11 and a half, so that 3 or 3.5 is a gift. Um, Another game we just talked about. I have Texas Tech 11 and a half worse than Ole Miss. You've got the 10 and a half worse. So that 3.5 looks like a good bet according to both models. And the last one, I kind of just jammed in your model into my against mine as a double check. You mentioned this actually. I have Memphis, Utah State going under. You've got it going more under. You mentioned 30 to 15. So
Hmm.
I've got it at the total at 50. You got the total at 45, and that total is what was that? That total is 62. So good play there. So if I was just a listener, that's the thing I would listen to anyways, is the dual model plays, because it's not just two guys giving opinions. It's you know
Their models, yeah.
yeah, and it's been very well 40 and 29 on the season. So
Hmm.
um there's the goal at the end of the podcast, kids.
There is, and that dual model plays been really good. We should look to expand that at some point or something. Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe even crunch overs and unders in there too. Yeah, I'm excited for. I mean, obviously we've got a couple stuff left. We're gonna have next week. We're gonna have the. We'll talk about the remaining bowls. So that's gonna cover probably. That will cover from next Friday onwards, Friday the 30th onwards. So that's going to be the New Year's Six Bowls, the Siggos Bowl, Iowa versus Kentucky. We're going to talk about that one for at least 10, at least 20 minutes, at least, and then obviously the college football playoffs, the semis and the finals as well, and then the New York Six Bowls as well. So yeah, the New Year's Six Bowls. So yeah, a lot of good bowl games coming up. And we'll be talking about those a lot more next week. So yeah, everybody, we will not be hearing from us until after Christmas. So have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, safe holidays, restful holidays, and we will see you guys after Christmas. See you guys.